Hi, this is Elliot Fishman, and welcome to our latest Facebook Live. Hope everybody's doing well. Today's September 1st, so it's hard to imagine the summer is over. Well, not really over, but at least August is over. Many of you have your kids beginning school, and schools are opening, whether it's elementary or high school or college. And we hope that things stay open as we get into the fall season. I know my grandchildren start school next week, so everyone's going to be careful, but we all know the challenges of COVID. So hopefully that'll all work well. So I thought I would share with you today. Let me just comb my hair a little bit here. Yeah, it makes it worse. Uh, I thought I would share with you the next couple of weeks a little bit of discussion about AI. And what I want to discuss is really not so much the facts of AI in the sense that we keep seeing more and more articles published with really good success rate. I saw an article this morning I was reading on AI in patients with COVID being able to predict outcomes, which have been a number of articles, but cardiac complications, abdominal complications, lung complications. So I've seen a lot of that. But what I would look at is more, what do you think about AI? There are companies, AI Doc, Zebra Technologies, as sort of standalone companies, and 800 more. Then there's the Siemens and GEs and the like, who also are coming up with AI products. Most of the AI products I've mentioned in the past tend to be very focused, like looking for osteoporosis. That was from Zebra Technologies. That's the first AI app, to my knowledge, that has an actual code where you can have a billing code. That was done by the AMA about a month ago. There's things looking for PEs, looking for dissections. There's things like from Siemens and GE where it's trying to help speed the radiologist work up so that it does a lot of the measurements. For example, in the aorta, maybe measures the aorta at 5 different levels to save you time and does it accurately. And we'll look back over the last 2 scans and measure to show if there's any change. So some of the typos when you dictate, or just the fact that it makes it a little bit easier and will save you some time. It doesn't change the process that all of us are very busy. We need to look at cases, but perhaps if it gets rid of some of the busy work and makes it very accurate, because sometimes how people measure the ascending aorta, are you doing a center line measurement, which is the most accurate? Are you just doing it at the pulmonary artery? Are you doing it what looks biggest to you? Are you doing it off the axials or the sagittals or the coronals? What are you doing? And then sometimes one person will say 4.2 and then you're going to say 3.9 or 4.5 because it depends on how you're doing the measurements. And then the fact that the aorta looks bigger or smaller may have nothing to do with the patient as much as the 2 radiologists reading the films. So that becomes very, very important. And I like that consistency and the reproducibility. Now, it's interesting, and one of the things I'll talk about today, perhaps, in my time, there's 2 articles in AJR this month, and I think it's the advanced issue, so I'm not sure it's the published or the in-press, but nevertheless, you can find it. And it's a good point-counterpoint. And again, just because you wrote one side of the story doesn't mean you agree with it, but it means you addressed it. In law school, they always tell you that the way they trade lawyers is to say there's an argument between A and B, and you start the case, you're defending A, and in the middle of the case, they make you the person who's attacking A. So it really works out really well because you need to be able to look at both sides of the point. Reminds me of the joke they would say about lawyers where, that law professor said, well, how do you deal with a case? He goes, well, if the facts are on your side, argue the facts. If precedent is on your side, argue precedent. If public sentiment is on your side, argue public sentiment. But then they said, well, what happens if the facts are against you, case law is against you, and public sentiment is against you? Then they said, just argue. That's a great way of thinking about it from a legal perspective, but we don't want to think about that as AI. I think all of us in the audience know that AI is going to have a major impact. The argument will be how much of an impact and when. We know that AI will help with scheduling, AI will help with moving images around, AI will help with a lot of things that have nothing to do with scanning the patients, but will make the patient experience better. AI can help with scanning the patients, making sure the protocol today was the same as the protocol before, making sure we scan with the lowest possible dose, yet getting a high quality image. So a lot of things where we maybe use our opinion where AI can help us be more factual. And whether it's comparing the size of a tumor, we all do rhesus reads. You measure one time across a lesion, bigger or smaller. We all know that a measurement of a lesion is kind of dumb. You really want to know what's the volume of the lesion, but it's too complicated. Perhaps AI can be more accurate giving you the volume. We use AI at Hopkins in our group to look at renal volumes. Remember, the kidney has a renal pelvis. Well, if you're transplanting a kidney, looking at left and right kidneys, you want to look at volumes. The way people draw it, a lot of the space is taken up by the renal pelvis and calyces. Well, you don't want that because that would make no sense. That's not functioning cortex. So with the programs we use, you're able to look at the kidney and just get the functioning cortex, not getting the cysts, not getting the renal pelvis, because you can imagine the volume of a kidney can look significantly different between the volume and the volume of the functioning cortex. And if you're picking right to left kidneys, you want the functioning kidney, nothing else. So a lot of this stuff will be very valuable in that regard. Now in this article, and I'm looking at it right here, and so you can look at AJR, you can download it. You probably can't see it if I could do it this way. Okay, that doesn't help much. But it's interesting. The two titles are The Radiologist's Potential Friend, The Radiologist's Incremental Foe. And both of them kind of address things in a very, very simple way. From the friend perspective, we know AI is coming along. It's going to take a while. And perhaps AI is going to help us with the difficult tasks that are boring, which will give us more time to spend on some of the more important tasks, like differential diagnosis, perhaps, looking for the findings. And perhaps AI will also, we're working at Hopkins on AI for detection of pancreatic cancer. Our goal is early detection of pancreatic cancer. Radiologists miss 30% of lesions. We want to decrease that. We want to make sure people detect things early so the patients can get surgery early or chemotherapy early. So we really want to change the process. But that's all positive. Now people then say, well, if the radiologist can read faster, they'll have them read more cases a day. That may be on the negative side of things, because you think about your hospital, your private practice, academic, wherever you are, the administrators are not going to say, oh, if AI can read half the cases or make people read twice as fast, we're going to give them more time to relax, speak to our referring docs, speak to our patients. Nonsense. If you can read that, as the article, I think the foe, Lexa and JHA say, that the reality is if you can read faster, they're going to have you read more cases. And if you read so fast, they're going to have less radiologists, because everything is in the profit and loss. No one is really looking, let's be honest, at how satisfied you are and how much free time you have and how much time you can spend with referring docs who are doing more and more teaching. Radiology, for most places, is run as a business. So their concern is corporate or other managed environments will reason that if AI can perform 50% of a radiologist's tasks, they do not need as many radiologists, perhaps more than half as many, but certainly fewer than before AI. A rational firm, whether for profit or non-profit, minimizes costs. Radiologists are expensive, inconsistent, and fallible. Reading too fast, reading the end of a long shift, and reading under adverse circumstances, such as sleep deprivation, increases error. AI is unencumbered by these deficiencies. Thus, both revenue generation and cost reduction motives can reduce the employed radiologist workflow. Now, I do believe that's a long way off, but I think it would be naive for you to think that if AI worked well, you're going to be working less hard. I don't think that's the case. In my mind, you're going to be working just as hard. I don't see that changing. I think what I see changing perhaps is making less error, because the computer will maybe point out certain findings that you would have overlooked, or certain findings you would be uncertain about, and help you. Perhaps it'll also help you with differential diagnosis, because it will have looked at 1,000 of those pancreatic tumors, and with a more statistical analysis could say, this is an MCN of the body of the pancreas rather than an IPM. And where this is not a cyst like an IPMN, but a cystic neuroendocrine tumor. So I think my goal is to have AI help us, but I never would think that AI is going to create less work for us, because I think if we do less, it's kind of like CT scanning. When we were in the beginning of CT pre-spiral, we read 13 cases a day. Oh my God, did we do a lot of cases? We did them, we read them. Now you're reading 50 a day because the scans come out every minute. You're not doing one an hour, but the scanner's doing 5 an hour. And so it's not like you have more time to think, you have less time to think, and you're simply reading more cases. And I think that probably is going to be the fact. I agree with the article, the 4AI by Miles and Lehman, and just one of their quotes: access to diagnostic imaging services remain a challenge worldwide. 2/3 of the global population lack access to quality radiology services, often because of lack of medical equipment or shortages in physicians. So I agree, in certain parts of the world, just like you've seen with Google with ophthalmologic exams, looking at diabetic retinopathy, a typical, if you had an eye doctor present, they could do a dozen cases or so a day. The new Google system can do thousands of patients a day with the same accuracy. So I think in certain parts of the world, Africa or other places where, South America, where the number of radiologists is limited, when they're working too hard, AI can be helpful in that regard. I think it's going to be a balancing act, and it's going to be a time consumption. I think radiologists need to know a lot about AI. I think we want to approach it from being an advocate for AI. I think we don't want to say, oh, we don't want AI because it's going to take away our jobs. That's not going to happen, okay? Not for a very, very long time. If they come up with the thing like on Star Trek where they put the thing over you and it tells you the answer and does the treatment automatically, whatever that one was called, then I think it's going to be an issue. But then you don't need to worry about that, because the surgeons will be out of work as well, and we'll be all working at like Shake Shack saying, do you want me to upsize that? But that's not going to happen in your lifetime, I don't think. But you never know. But I don't think so. So we're not going to worry about that. But I think we need to worry about learning about AI, understanding AI, and really make sure AI in your practice is not determined by a bunch of administrators. Administrators surely have no interest in your work or the quality of your work. And most places, the administrators have no interest in the quality of the patients. Most places, and I'm not talking about Hopkins, obviously, but when you speak to most people, they will tell you that their administrators simply want to know how many widgets are done. And that's not radiology alone. That's surgery, that's medicine, that's pediatrics. Everybody is looking not at the humanism in medicine, but ding, ding, ding. How many RVUs per FTE? And one of the changes in medicine, remember that article from Harvard where they show the graph of administrators goes like this, and radiologists and physicians in general and nurses is flat over the last decade. It's an era of administrators administrating medicine. That's a gigantic problem, because their goal is never patient care. They want to be high on the U.S. News and World Reports, perhaps, or leapfrog surveys, but they know how to play that game. The way they're promoted or the way they make their bonus is by how much money the hospital makes. Radiologists really are focusing on patient care and quality of care. So we want AI to make the quality of care better, to make us better radiologists, to make our reports better, and to treat our patients better. So radiologists need to be at the front of AI, not arguing. We know it's coming. The key thing is how it's going to get there and what we needed to provide. You don't want to have administrators telling you you're now using this program because it's going to do things better for you, and now you could read 20% more cases or 50% more cases. You need to be the one saying, this AI program is good because I'll miss 20% less pancreatic cancers, or I'll do my measurements more accurately, or I'll be able to give more information to our referring physicians to help with the management of the patients. So to me, AI is a great, great next step in quality, in safety, and in patient care. But in order to make that happen, the radiologists need to be the one embracing it and be the one driving it. I think it's worthwhile to read those articles in AJR because both of them are very well written and they bring up very salient points. They're not really arguing that against AI or for AI. And both articles really do make the point that AI is coming. The question is the alignment of our needs, the alignment of our patient needs, the ability to do better, to be more accurate. Those are the things we're thinking about. We're not thinking about, oh my God, we can make more RVUs, we can make more money. I don't think radiologists look at AI as a way of making more money, nor do we look at AI as a way of making less money. That's not the reason we should be looking at AI. We should be looking at AI because it is the next important step in the treatment of our patients and in the really the triage of our patients. So I think in that regard, it's very exciting, and I think we need to be there. You need to understand, and what we're going to try to do with CTisus, maybe this year, try to bring some people from outside fields, computer science, speak about AI, teach you a little bit about it. On the CTisus, the website, we have a big AI column with articles, talks, a bunch of work from NVIDIA. So we're trying to provide that for you. We're learning ourselves. As we learn, we'll let you know. I do a speaker series, September 21st, up for a speaker. I see Liliana. Hi, Liliana. I'll send you the link. You need our secret link. But we have Alvy Ray Smith. Alvy Ray is the co-founder of Pixar, one of the most brilliant people in computer science, has won Academy Awards, is one of the leading scientists in computer science and graphics, and will kind of tell us where we are, where things are going. I'll also make a plug. The book is called The History of the Pixel. Alvy starts literally with Napoleon and where things have gone ever since then. So I think it's a very good book. It's really factual. It's a big book, about 500 pages. I'm reading it now, so I think it's just came out from, I think it's MIT Press. It's really, really good. Alvy Ray Smith is the name. But Alvy's going to be speaking to us about the past, future, and present of AI and computer graphics and just computers in general and how it changes the world and how it's going to change the world. And I think that's very exciting. So I think my time is up. Not too many questions. If anyone has a question, this will be your last moment to ask a question. Besides Liliana saying hi, I don't see anybody asking any questions, but that's okay. I do apologize, I started a little bit earlier today, but that's when I said we were going to start. We are trying to do it at 12 o'clock on Thursdays, but I have to be traveling tomorrow. I have a appointment at noon at the Bronx Zoo tomorrow with my grandchildren, looking at one-on-one with some animals. So I really had to bump this just a little bit. So I apologize to everybody, but if you weren't here, just write down a question at the bottom. I will answer the questions. This link is on Facebook Live the second we finish it, within the next minute or so. We also post it on YouTube, and I want to congratulate my team, Sarah, Lily. We now have over 30,000 subscribers on YouTube. We have 1.6 million followers every day on Facebook Live or Facebook in general. So we welcome everybody and thank everybody for following us. And again, I try to come up, Lily asked me or Sarah asked me, what's the topic next week? And I come up with something, but if you guys have things you want us to address, to talk about, I'll be happy to, just let me know. So with that, I'm gonna sign off. Now I have to give 12 o'clock conference. Remember, I show you every third week or fourth week, the CTisus quiz, right? And that's the cases from our case conference. And I'm going right now to do the case conference. If you only had the secret code, you too can join us. And I think I have a contest where we give you the codes for a month, okay? Not a big secret, you know, but nevertheless, we would love to make everyone be able to go, but the problem, of course, we're concerned about is security, you know, with Zoom and Zoom bombing, which has not been a big deal lately. But anyway, I wish everybody a great day and see you soon. Bye-bye.